Season 2, baby. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend, Matt.
2, 3, 4. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. We are the Virtual Ball Boys, coming to you from New York and Illinois. Hey, did you get the memo? NFL is on soon, so it's time to start the show. BBB with Chris and Matt.
That is excellent. How long did that take you to write?
I wrote it yesterday.
Awesome.
In like, I don't know, 10 minutes.
That's awesome. That was pretty good. I was saying right before the recording, like, you know what, we need to like reintroduce ourselves to the audience and kind of like talk about like what we're about. I mean, that's a pretty good summation right out of the gate. It's just is a good song. We have the intro song already, and then we have just a repeat with the lyrics. I like it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. It is season 2, episode 1 of the Virtual Ball Boys, and this has just been a year that has been so emotionally draining in many different ways, and it's just kind of insane that we're still gonna get to talk about football and still get to watch it and take it in. I'm very excited to be here and excited to do this podcast. Just to kind of rehash who we are just two guys, been longtime friends, that began to really, I fell in love with football in like 2014-ish, a little bit earlier than that actually, and I have been watching it ever since. I don't consider myself an expert, but I love talking about it, and it's a lot of fun. What about you, Matt, in terms of
so my fandom with the NFL started around the same time. Like, I watched games growing up all the time, but I didn't really get into the NFL as a whole until I started playing fantasy football in 2014, and that's been kind of like my main entrance into the football world is through fantasy. I have 2 total championships under my belt, and multiple playoff appearances.
There you go. Boom. Flex that scoreboard.
Including last year, winning my dynasty championship with Lamar Jackson and Christian McCaffrey, who I drafted the year before. Yeah.
There you go. So if this is the first time you're tuning in, just know, we're not. You got a lot of great NFL writers out there NFL writers and podcasters who maybe be better experts than us, but I think what you get from us is two guys that enjoy having fun, not really like a super toxic space, or at least we try not to have one, of just, enjoying talking about football with a little bit of a video game twist to it. We try to reference some video games sometimes in segments that we do and all that. But the big difference between last year and this year is that we got a big project that we've been working on since February. And it was something that was a strange idea I had, where we would choose a random town in the United States and give it a football team, and it evolved into something much, much bigger than that.
That I don't think either of us thought we were going to start with, but we're both very happy that it is at this point.
What, just so that way, like, what would you be do the honors of actually explaining what it is that we created?
Sure. So we created what we call the Virtual Ball Boys Football League, or the VBBFL, the best acronym in sports. It is. We got a bunch of our friends. When I say got, I mean forced them to draft some football teams based on positions that we lined out, based on the characters that they like, and just basically put a team together. And then we had our good friend and fellow Team Chaos production member, Walsh, put together a tabletop role-playing game for us, which Saturdays throughout the season, we will be live streaming the games of, and then bringing the overall results here to you on the podcast.
Yeah. So you will get to watch it live if you want to, but if you're not able to, we'll make sure to kind of showcase the highlights in our middle segment. It's all video game characters that make up the entire rosters, and it's a lot of fun. It's kind of nuts. We will keep you guys posted as to when we'll do it. I don't know if we'll be doing it this Saturday, but potentially next Saturday will be our start. We will again keep you updated on that. Please follow us at Virtual Ball Boys on Twitter to find out, and if we do have any kind of advanced planning, we will make sure to say it on the podcast as well. But yeah, just stay up to date on that, and we will let you know when we go live. It's going to be a massively fun, insane league, and I hope we can really pull it off. And that's gonna be part of our focus this year. We're gonna do what we have been doing, which is talking NFL and giving our predictions about what's gonna be happening in the league. And we will be doing that near the in the second half of the podcast. We'll be giving our playoff, Super Bowl, and predictions, and as well as just going over the Week 1 slate and giving our predictions about who's gonna win each game. But first, before we do that, let's get into some news. We're going to talk about some headlines. Probably every week we'll go over some of the headlines from the week prior, whether it's a specific game or a significant injury or just a significant moment in the NFL that we want to discuss. We're not afraid to kind of talk controversial topics.
This is not a nonpartisan podcast.
Yeah, we've stated our opinions loud and clear in many other ways. So just be warned about that. But you know what? That's just who we are. We will start things off though with some crazy news out of Denver. Von Miller in the last play of practice on Tuesday injured his tendon in his ankle, and ended up being that basically he dislocated the tendon, which that just sounds absolutely painful.
Yeah, that's not what I want to happen to me.
No. So Von Miller unfortunately had to have surgery and is likely out for the rest of 2020. There is some timetables with this kind of injury that he could be back in 3 months, but that is a very optimistic time.
It is, and I don't foresee the Broncos being in a situation where that would be needing him back.
Yeah. So your reaction overall, this is you in terms of the impact for Von Miller and for the Denver Broncos.
I think it means that with Von Miller they had a chance for playoffs, and now I really don't think that chance is there. And it wasn't even like I was going like Broncos playoffs in like no question. I was like, okay, they could be in the mix, and now I don't think they will be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had them pretty high, not in terms of like, division win or anything like that. I thought they could be a wild card team, but the problem is that Von Miller, they didn't really have a replacement for him. And they're already they're even still worried about Bradley Chubb, who injured his ACL last year.
Yeah.
They're still worried about his injury too. So it's a really rough gut punch for this Denver team that was looking at high expectations. Seemed like they were finally had a team where that could make a run at a playoff berth, and it's going to be hard to see them doing that without their future Hall of Fame linebacker in the mix.
Former Super Bowl MVP.
Right. I said this yesterday too when we were talking about this. Von Miller was one of the players that ended up having COVID. And there, with everything that we've heard about COVID and not really fully understanding the after effects of it yet, I know that my mom, who went through it, suddenly after having the disease, kind of started experiencing heartburn more often, and we've learned that there's these heart conditions that kind of are developing in some people because of COVID, and there is a small part of me that, as hurt as I am to see Von Miller go down and have it, that to see him not be able to be back on the field this year, I think I'm glad that he's not going to have to be in a situation where something happens on the football field and something happens with his heart. You know what I mean? Like that, there is that part of me that just is worried about what's happening with COVID, and I'm there is a part of me that's glad that he isn't playing, but I hate that it's under these circumstances.
Totally.
So I don't know. That's just my viewpoint on it. But I wish the best for him and his recovery, and we'll see if the Broncos can make a comeback on this. In other news, lots of signings over the weekend, with all the cuts and all the roster movement that has been happening over the last 4 or 5 days. The biggest of note, Jadeveon Clowney, who has been sitting out basically the entire offseason, waiting for the right opportunity, has landed with the Tennessee Titans. He is a big addition to a Titans team that has been kind of needing to look. They really needed to look for a pass rusher, and they finally landed on one. What's your thoughts on Clowney to the Titans?
It's fantastic signing. This really helps this Titans team go from good to great, if they weren't at great already.
Yeah, definitely. I love this signing, and there's some people that are like, well, what about the sack totals? And it's like, fuck off. Sacks aren't everything. It's like, he is such a disruptor on a constant basis. Like, yes, could he be better than what he has been at a constant rate? Yes. Like that, there is times where his game is inconsistent, but I think the best game he's ever had, which was that playoff game when he was back when he was still with Houston, against the Raiders, where he was just disrupting the game constantly and just was such a impact player. If the Titans can get that Clowney back, and he's back with the guy who was with him in Houston with Mike Vrabel, that have that connection there again. Like I don't know. I'm very curious to see how that ball plays out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good for both parties.
Yeah. Meanwhile, since it is week 1, we're getting all the news as to who's going to be starting this week. For the week 1, who's going to be kicking things off for their franchise. Probably the biggest quarterback starting news: Mitch Trubisky. He is the Bears starting quarterback, not running back.
He might as well be.
For week 1, against the Lions. The Bears fan in the podcast, Matt, what is your mentality on this right now? Do you think that this is the right move? What's your thoughts?
I do believe it was the right move. It's okay, Trubisky, you're gonna get another chance, but if you screw up, Foles is right there. So there's that element to it, and I think that honestly the way that the Bears ran plays last year fucking sucked. And it made me sad every time I watched it, because it was the same fucking thing of, like, okay, Montgomery runs up the middle and or Trubisky overthrows someone and when good
fart
shit
noises in their playbook.
You know when some good shit happened a couple years ago?
Mm-hmm.
When Trubisky was able to run. And then that injury against the Vikings happened to his shoulder, and he got scared. He got scared to run, and they didn't have him run that much anymore. So it's really going to be dependent on how much they let Mitch run the ball or how much Mitch actually does that and just hones himself in a little bit. It's the right call because it's easier to go from Mitch to Foles than it is from Foles to Mitch. And if we get to the playoffs and they replace Mitch with Foles, all I'm saying is that we're going to the Super Bowl. Because that's what Foles does.
I think that's just the logical next leap. I completely get it. I look at this and I'm not, and this is just coming from an outsider's perspective on looking at the Bears. I don't know if either option really gives me a whole lot of confidence in the
also
offense,
true,
but I think that for the Bears' sake and for the stability sake of the organization, it makes sense that they would go back with Trubisky.
Yeah.
Especially for a guy like Ryan Pace, whose career is kind of riding on Trubisky's success. So I get it, and we will see. I mean, we forget it is only 2 years ago where things were great. Matt Nagy was the coach of the year. Ryan Pace was getting, praised up and down, and Trubisky had a decent year. And that went away in 2019. And there's
cowardly
a lot of
play calling.
Right. And so
that's pissing me off. We had shit going on.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And so it's Matt Nagy needs to get aggressive. Mitch needs to do what he does best, which is he's at his best when he's both running and passing the ball and not really, not actually trusting the weapons around him, which, again, considering who's around him, I'm not very much super high on the situation.
Except the wide receivers with Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller, who are great wide receivers.
Yes. I feel like Robinson has proven himself. I would like to still see Miller in a little bit more action, seeing if he can really step up. But I hear you, and I think there's a lot of questions surrounding this team. Let's see what happens week 1. Obviously that won't be the end all be all, but I'm curious at how this team functions in their first big test, I would say, against a divisional opponent who has some decent expectations as well.
Yep.
The other starting news, which none of this necessarily is super surprising, Cam Newton was named the starting quarterback for week 1 for the Patriots.
Good.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick will be starting against Cam Newton in Miami.
Also good.
To start things off. Any thoughts on either of these
both expected. Cam, because no one else, Stidham isn't gonna beat out Cam. Are you fucking kidding me? And starting Fitzpatrick and letting Tua acclimate and not being thrown in right away. Burrow was the only rookie quarterback this year, and he is kind of in there because of out of necessity. The other two rookies with Herbert and Tua, they're gonna get some time to grow in the system a little bit more, and they'll be better. They'll be either, if they're not starting by the end of the season, they'll be the starters next year.
Yeah, I mean, this was not on my lineup, but speaking of just the rookie quarterback situation, Joe Burrow is going to be the quarterback for Cincinnati, and Tyrod Taylor is getting the start, as we've known for a few months now, over Justin Herbert. So really a lot of reliance on the veterans to take the lead, on these franchises for the time being. And Cam makes sense. We'll see if Cam could be the healthy guy that we hope he is, to make the Patriots remain interesting. We've had so many people earn money in the last few days. Lots of money being earned across many positions. There's we may not even have them all listed here, but we have there was extensions for Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, Tre'Davious White, Jalen Ramsey, Keenan Allen, and Cameron Hayward. And I'm sure there's someone I'm missing.
Kareem Hunt
got an extension. There you go. So any like just across the board, any thoughts on any of these signings?
They all the math checks out.
Yeah.
The one of note is that Hopkins is now the highest played non-quarterback in league history.
There you go. So that's and I think that was one of the things that we were expecting to happen earlier in the offseason when the trade initially happened, but we knew that there was going to be an agreement at some point that things were going to be settled, and so yeah, Hopkins now gets the bag. Really happy for Watson as someone who rooted for him in college, and seeing him flourish with the Houston Texans. I'm super pumped. There is a great scene when he
Absolutely.
during his extension press conference with his family surprised him by showing up to the press conference via Zoom, and he broke out in tears, and it was a wonderful moment, because I know how much family and doing good in the world matters to Watson. So I freaking
Hopkins.
love the guy.
Oh, that was Watson.
This is just
Watson.
Watson.
Okay, my bad. I missed that crossover.
And then Tre'Davious White, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then Jalen Ramsey kind of followed, being those. I think those two are like the with the exception of Stephon Gilmore, the top cornerbacks in the league right now.
I would agree. It is funny though, and it makes me happy because it will lead to the downfall of the Dallas Cowboys organization. That the more quarterbacks that sign extensions, the higher Dak's price is going to go.
And
instead of, they could have just taken care of it and not franchise tagged him and be totally fine. Or, not sign Amari Cooper to that big of an extension.
Dak, I feel like he's gonna fall the way of Kirk Cousins.
Oh yeah,
and it's gonna be a rough situation for them.
I would love Dak next year, dude.
If Dak lands in Chicago, man, who knows? I mean, this is a big year for Dak, because if he does not do well, I mean, he's a great quarterback. He played really well last year. But if there is some, for whatever reason, that things don't work out for him this year and things are looking rough, I feel like Jerry Jones is just so fucking bloodthirsty that he's just gonna cut his ass or let his ass go and then try to get a quarterback in the draft or something.
The thing is, though, is that Dak is like surrounded by some of the best talent that he has ever had.
Yeah,
and he's a good quarterback. So
so it would literally take disaster striking for that to happen. So like, I don't know what Jerry Jones is doing.
Because and especially like Jerry Jones wants to win football games, but the more football games that he wins, the more that he's going to have to pay Dak.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Cowboys roster, and we'll get into that when we talk playoff picks. I love the Cowboys rosters, but the quarterback situation is one of the worst handlings that they're dealing with right now. Last two bits and notes in terms of signings and cuts and signings and cuts. Adrian Peterson signs with Detroit. I just sometimes you want to phrase things right and it just doesn't, so you just kind of trail off into this deep despair.
I get you.
Adrian Peterson signs with Detroit. And so that is now he's gonna, according to I forget who, but there's some reporting out there that he might be getting a bulk of the carries in week 1. What's your thoughts?
That makes me happy.
As a Bears fan.
Like it's gonna bring the running back room as a whole down. Like I don't see any of them getting established like they need to. Swift at the end of the year, sure, but
I don't know. Peterson to me has been playing very well for Washington. I can't really see him doing like awful.
But also knowing Matt Patricia, he's going to use Adrian Peterson even when Peterson isn't playing well.
Yeah, Yeah, well, Matt Patricia has a lot to prove in the
he does
in this season. So we'll see. We'll see if he's used right. Josh Rosen. This is the last news story. Josh Rosen. Dude started out his career as a 10th overall pick to the Cardinals, then got blindsided with the team drafted Kyler Murray number 1 overall, got traded to the Dolphins for a 2nd round pick, and he got a few starts in Miami before he was pulled. He did not show a lot of promise, and then Miami drafted Tua. It seemed like he could have been the backup for Tua this year, but instead they stuck with Fitzpatrick as the starter and cut Josh Rosen, and now he's in Tampa behind the GOAT, or at least a few quarterbacks behind the GOAT,
because he's on the practice squad, right?
Yes, yeah. He got signed to the practice squad. This is a weird year with the practice squad where veterans can be signed to the
Josh
McCown
has the best fucking deal going on in the entire world right now, and I'm so happy for him.
Yeah, to give me more details on that.
He gets to live at home in Texas with his family and get paid $12,000 a week, and then just be by the phone for Philadelphia to call him and be like, "Hey, we need you to back. We need you to play," and then he'll just fly out to wherever they're going and then play.
Yeah, he's there.
It's amazing.
He's a coach too, and so he gets to still be a coach, still kind of just live his life and get paid shit tons of money.
Oh my god, it is such the perfect scenario, and I'm so happy for him. It is the perfect end to a career like his.
McCown, perfect practice squad player. My god, he's just one of the best. We need to I think we need an entire episode of VBB dedicated to Josh McCown the moment he actually announces his retirement. I feel like he just deserves the honor.
It's that important. He's important to me because he provided a respite. Is that the word? A respite from Jay Cutler.
I think that's the right word.
At some point.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, so Josh Rosen is in Tampa. Who fucking knows if he's good or not? But hey,
to be fair,
future Buccaneers quarterback, who knows?
Yeah, to be fair, he was on the worst offense of all time his first year, and then one of the worst offenses in the league until Fitzmagic took over.
Right. Yeah, it's Rosen's had a bad. I think two things can be true. Rosen's had a really unlucky NFL career, and
he's not as good as we thought.
Yeah, there's reason to be relatively skeptical, but hey. Maybe in Tampa he can shine. Bruce Arians is the quarterback whisperer after all.
Yep.
So we'll see how that goes. All right, and that's the news, folks. Let's talk some football. The NFL is back, and it's time to talk about what we think is going to happen this year. It's super exciting. Let's just real quick before we go into our playoff picks. Just division by division. What's our thoughts on things? I'll throw out a division, and we'll give thoughts. And then you throw out a random division, and we'll give our thoughts. How's that work? Okay.
Sure.
Let's. I'm gonna start with the AFC East. What's your thoughts on the AFC East, my friend?
So the AFC East is going to have a lot of shakeup this year. I don't think that the Patriots, who were at the top, have they didn't completely fall out of contention like we all wanted to believe at the start of the offseason, but I do think they'll be worse off than they were. I think the Bills are going to be the most consistent team this year, and that's going to help them win the division overall. And then Miami still has some spunk to it, I'll say. They could do pretty well this season. I don't expect anything out of New York, and I think Adam Gase gets fired by the end of the year.
I agree with pretty much everything that you're saying. I think that Peter King earlier this week said that Miami's going to win the AFC East. I'm not at that level. I'm not ready to concede to that at all. But
it's because of the Bills existing, not because of the Patriots existing.
Which is a change of pace. Nice change of pace. I think that Buffalo is just one of the most consistent teams year over year from 2019 to 2020 right now. I think the roster is pretty much still in place the way it was last year.
I think it's like a 94% snap retention or something insane like that.
Yeah, they got better with Stephon Diggs being their wide receiver 1 now, who has shined in Minnesota, even though he was kind of like a wide receiver 2-1 hybrid ish. And I mean, the defense is young, but it has a lot of talent, and obviously you have Tre'Davious White leading the way in the secondary. We also forget that Josh Norman's on that team now, which, I mean, he didn't have a great Washington career, but maybe things shine with the Bills. I think Buffalo is just in a great spot, and I really like Sean McDermott. I don't think he's gonna let this team fall by the wayside.
No way.
But the Patriots are intriguing. They for the first time in a while, I'm excited to see what the Patriots do.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Because I really want Cam to be successful, because I just love who Cam is.
Me too. Wish we had him.
Yeah. And so I'm just very curious to see how that all goes. All right, hit me with a division.
I want to hear what you say on this division first, so I'm gonna say NFC North.
NFC North. Okay. I think this is the most topsy-turvy freaking division in the entire NFL, and it's just because there is so many questions about every single team, but there's also someone can make an argument that every single team can win its division. I think, but if I'm being honest and I'm looking at it, I look at Minnesota and I think it's the most consistent team on paper. It looks like it has a pretty solid defense with a lot of stars. They're going to be without Hunter for a few weeks, which is a rough blow, but they do got Ngakoue now, which is just a really, really good add for them. And the offense, I think, is going to be able to kind of carry on without Stephon Diggs being there. I look at the Packers, and there is just nothing convincing me that they're going to be better than last year. And I just feel like they're going to be worse considering the luck that they had last year.
It was like 9-1. They had 10 one-score games, and they were 9-1 in those games.
So I mean, you can't retain that amount of luck. It's very hard. I think the sneaky team is the Lions. I really like this team, and I know that there's a lot of heat for Matt Patricia in his first few years, but the way there is no coach I've been more impressed about in the handling of the latest round of protests than Matt Patricia, just because it kind of came out of nowhere how he let his team lead the way, and they were the first team to cancel practice, the first team to stand in front of their facility and held up signs and give speeches and be a big moment of that. And I think that goes a long way for that chemistry between Matt Patricia and his players, and kind of setting things up. Now, do I think in terms of the field, like in terms of how it's gonna look on the field, the defense has some questions, but I really like Jeff Okudah. I think he's gonna be a big add for them in the secondary, and that offense is gonna be solid. I think Matthew Stafford was playing very well last year.
He was absolutely
with the wide receivers being well. And then that brings me to the Bears, and I guess I feel like this team, they went 8-8 last year. It wasn't a terrible season for them, but I feel like there is room for even more regression, just because of the confidence I have in the offense is just not there. And the defense really did not show as much as being like one of the best in the league as it was the year before. I hope that Khalil Mack could be the guy for them still. That would be a big blow.
And that Akeem Hicks stays healthy.
Yeah, and Akeem Hicks stays healthy, because like those two guys, if you can't get a really steady production out of those two guys, I don't see how this defense could be there, and I don't see how this team could get out of last place. That's a very hard place for the situation right now. Do I think that they could do it? Sure. I just don't have the confidence in it. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm pretty much all the same. I have a little more hope in the Bears, just because, like, from 2 years ago, I'm still holding on to that and hope that the offense can at least be that good. Yeah, if it's as good as it was 2 years ago, I feel more confident.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But Mitch is going to be Mitch, and we're going to be in rebuild territory next year if things don't go well at all.
Yeah. What about the other teams for you? Like any other thoughts that I have?
Lions are really going to surprise people. A lot of people overall. Packers are a fucking joke. Everyone thought they were going to start out so strong because they beat the Bears, and it was like, oops, the Bears aren't that good. And they had a really good record last year, but again, it was super lucky. I think Matt LaFleur is a good coach, but it's...
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a coaching thing. I think it's a talent thing. I think the talent is not there.
But then you get to the draft, and you're like, okay, we need to make our team better. What do we need? A wide receiver, too. Let's take, with our first two picks, a backup quarterback and a backup running back for two players who were outstanding at their positions last year. Fuck you, Green Bay.
It was very bizarre.
Minnesota is probably the best team in this division right now.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting seeing how it plays out, though, because I do think it's a clusterfuck and anything can happen.
Yep.
In the NFC North.
I'm going to be, like, my blood pressure is going to be so high watching any NFC North game this year.
Yeah, no, I get that completely. I love how it's starting out. I love that it's division. Both games, both NFC North games are division games. Like,
yep.
It's going to be good shit. I'm excited. All right, let's throw the NFC South out there because I feel like that's been talked about the most this offseason with Brady being added to the Buccaneers. What's your thoughts on things?
So Saints are the most consistent team in the NFC, and adding Emmanuel Sanders doesn't hurt them. How could that hurt them in the slightest? That's a great add as like your wide receiver 2 behind Thomas. Saints are phenomenal, and the only thing that you need to worry about is if Drew Brees can have the stamina for the entire season. Atlanta is like kind of in the same boat of the NFC North teams for me, where it could be a fuck all whichever way they could go. Carolina is rebuilding. I am really interested to see how this offense turns out because I do think all the pieces are good. It's just going to be like how it comes together and what Teddy can do. And very young defense, who in a couple of years I think is going to be great. But right now, obviously, they're all going to be rookies.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then Tampa Bay, so overhyped. Y'all, like, I think that the best thing going for Tampa Bay is that Bruce Arians is their head coach. And that is a big compliment, and if they win, I think it's going to be because of him, not because of Brady, not because of fucking Gronk. You think Gronk is going to do anything, you're an idiot. And I will eat my words at the end of the season if Brady and Gronk become the next big thing. But this is like, I am planting my flag so hard in Tampa Bay being a good team, but not the level that everyone thinks that they're going to be.
Welcome to the Virtual Ball Boys, where we tried out to keep things toxic here. If you think Gronk's could do well, you're a fucking asshole. You're a fucking idiot. I'm
sorry, that was mean, but
no, it's funny. It's all good. I agree with you. I think that there's a lot of people who are putting the Buccaneers as the winners of this division, and I'm not saying that the Bucs Saints games are going to be fun. Like I'm very much looking forward to Sunday. The fact that that's going to be the first dose of Brady in Tampa is going to be great. But I think that there is still some questions on the back end of their secondary. There is questions about if Brady is going to be able to be the quarterback that he has been. I think last year kind of showed that he was regressing in a lot of ways. I hope that that's the case, but he has an offensive line that's not that amazing either in Tampa. So
if Brady gets sacked once and something bad happens, Blaine Gabbert is not gonna help you.
Yeah, no, Gabbert, and it's not a great backup situation either. I mean, what they have going for them is a great front seven. Devin White is expected to be a big star. With Shaquille Barrett as well being from the last year's sack leader. And then you have a ton of great weapons around you, and that's why Gronk is tight end 3 right now for that franchise. So I I think, and I'll wrap up my division thoughts because I don't want to go too deep on the other teams because I think you kind of care. You basically said what I wanted to say on it, but I think that Tampa has what it takes to do well this year. I do think that they could win double-digit games, but they have to prove it first. I think it has to.
It's unwarranted praise right now.
Right, exactly. And so we'll see how it goes. And the Panthers, I agree with you. They're going to be interesting. They were initially like a bottom 2 team in my eyes, but I kind of like them to win a few games. Surprisingly, Falcons, I think they are going to be I think they're going to be solid this year. I think we're going to be surprised by them. And
it is a year 2 for Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan always takes 2 years to get accustomed to the offense, and this is a year 2 for him. So,
hey. Boom. Watch out, folks. Yep. And then the Saints are consistent as hell, so I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
All right, throw a division.
AFC West.
I think it's the Chiefs' division to lose, and I would be stunned if they did. So I stand by that. I think that we were really looking at the Raiders and Broncos and Chargers as like they're all going to be like in the mix potentially for an AFC wildcard spot. But Derwin James going down for the Chargers, Von Miller going down for the Broncos, and I just think there's still some defensive uncertainty generally with the Raiders.
Of course.
That it is hard for me to get behind any of the teams and the Chargers are also a lot of questions around their offense right now in terms of if they could kind of sustain having Tyrod Taylor as quarterback. He's a good guy, but I mean he's not like this world beater. I think if there's any team that can stir the pot, I think it's going to be the Raiders because I do think they have a decent amount of talent on the roster. They have some fun weapons, but I just and Denver is interesting too. There's some good players there. It is a lot more of it's a more competitive AFC than in other years, and I think that's going to harbor a lot of these teams from maybe taking a leap and making the playoffs.
Same thoughts with me. Kansas City's going to own this division. The rest just have too many question marks for me to warrant anything beyond like maybe.
Do you see the Raiders? Like, who would you say out of the 3 of them do you think could be a wild card?
I think the Raiders, which is wild. But yeah, I think that like they did a great job with drafting their receivers. I think Josh Jacobs is great. I think Carr will do enough to be a good quarterback. Like I feel confident with their offense, but again, defense just too many question marks.
Definitely. I'm with you. All right. Let's see. We did 2 AFC, 2 NFC. I'll throw another AFC at you. Let's do the AFC South.
AFC South. Okay. Jaguars are going to get Trevor Lawrence.
All right.
I'll just leave it at that. This division is strange because I think that I don't know what's going to happen with the Texans now that like Hopkins is gone and their defense isn't the Texans defense that we're used to. Not that it was last year either, but
sure.
I have a lot of trust in Watson, which is why I think this team still has a shot. But Indy, I think, is going to be fantastic this year. Phillip Rivers is I think the perfect quarterback for this team, being able to be behind the best offensive line in football, probably. And
definitely.
And with Mack and Taylor's probably my favorite rookie running back. Rivers is going to be able to shine here like he wasn't in Los Angeles last year, and their defense is also super solid. And adding Buckner, dude, like, great team. And then you have Tennessee, who's also going to be great. I think Indy and Tennessee are going to be the stars of this division this year. Tannehill is there's going to see some regression because they're not going to be as efficient as they were last year because last year was nuts. Yeah. But Henry, one of the best running backs in the league. Tannehill found his spot. AJ Brown, stud, and adding Clowney on their defense. This is going to be a hard team to beat. And I'm not looking forward to the 2 Indianapolis and Tennessee games that we have to predict this year.
Yeah, that's gonna be brutal. I mean, I think the big problem for me, and this is even with the Clowney signing, could see that defense taking a step back a little bit because they did lose quite a few good players, that were on that defense initially. With that said, and they also lost Jack Conklin on their offensive line, so there's some pieces there, and who knows if Derrick Henry might, if, God forbid, he goes down, who's behind him? How can they run an offense that's already kind of running through Henry? How can they run it without him?
Right.
There's a lot of questions there for the Titans that give me some hesitancy, but I do think like the talent is deep with this team, and let's not forget the power of AJ Brown, who is just like, he came out in his rookie year, didn't have a great start to the season. I think he might have been injured. I'm not too sure, but
no, he just wasn't used, and Mariota existed.
Yeah, right. So there you go. So Brown had such a great second half of the last year, and was such an impact player. I think he's gonna really be the star of the show.
If DK Metcalf didn't exist and stand next to AJ Brown,
yeah,
AJ Brown would have been the biggest like draw of that wide receiver class. But DK Metcalf worked out in the combine, and everyone saw that picture.
and it's funny because like how did Ole Miss not win a title with AJ Brown and DK Metcalf? And it's like,
because it's Ole Miss, and there are other players on the team in the SEC.
I've heard that from a few people. I'm just like, let's calm down there.
College is different.
I'm with you on the Colts. I think that they're a deeper team than I expect. I am the only like, I'm a little. I feel like we're giving the defense maybe a little too much credit at the moment, because I think that the secondary still has some questions. I think they have the stars in Buckner and the star in Leonard, but there is some cause to kind of be hesitant about the defense really like showing up. But that's not to say that this team does not have a pretty deep roster overall, and I think that they'll be okay. I like them, and the Texans pretty similar. Deshaun Watson will be the reason that this team wins the division if they pull it off, and Jaguars, see you next year. All right,
or in 2.
Yeah. Hit me with a team. Hit me with a division.
Hit me with your best shot. Let's do NFC West.
The NFC West. So I think this is the hardest division for me.
Yep.
Because there's so much that you can like AFC South, I think, had, this 3-team kind of cycle of who could be on top. AFC West has the team that's going to be on top, but like the 3 teams that could be in a wild card mix. This is 4 teams that could probably win their division if things go the right way. I genuinely believe that, and I still think it's only gonna end up being 2 teams that come out of this division, because I just think the NFC is deep as hell, and it's gonna be hard. Although they do have the 7th seed this year, so 7 seeds action with the playoffs now. But I look at the Cardinals, and I think that they are going to be the most surprising team maybe out of the mix. The team that was last place last year, now really stepping up on the offensive side of things. The defense has added like Isaiah Simmons. That's going to be an interesting player with Chandler Jones. I think that we are going to probably hope that this team is successful a little bit more than maybe what they'll produce, but I think that they're going to have things are going to be fun in Arizona this year. Whether or not they make the playoffs is yet to be determined, but they'll be fun. The Rams are the other team that didn't make the playoffs last year, and I think that there is you want to hope that Jared Goff can be back to what he was a few years ago. You want to hope that the offensive line has gotten better, although it doesn't. I don't think on paper it does look that great right now. And the defense, you have to really rely on guys like Donald and Ramsey to be like the leaders. It's to me, it's a little similar situation to the Colts, where you have 2 star players, but everything else could go either way. This defense could be great, or it could not, and we'll have to see to believe on that. And then the Seahawks and 49ers, who are on top. The Niners, the big concern for them is the wide receivers. I don't know right now in terms of how how that's going to change over the course of the season, if they're going to be able to, consistently have great receivers playing for them, or if
they will. I have faith in their receiving core if they stay healthy.
Yes, but that is the key.
Yep.
And I look at the Seahawks, and I think right now their usual concerns have been pass rush and offensive line. But if both of those things can hold up, this is going to be a hard team to beat. And the Seahawks are usually a hard team to beat. But adding Jamal Adams to a secondary that played all right last year, but now it's going to be so much better.
Oh boy.
That's the Seahawks are going to be something. They're going to be something this year. It's so that there's you want to have faith that the Niners could repeat, but it's going to be very hard with three teams that have a lot of very good pieces all across the board.
You nailed it on the head. If there's any division that is going to have all of their teams make the playoffs, it's going to be this one.
Yeah.
And I am just really excited to see how it all happens.
Yeah.
I think there's just so much depth on so many of them, and if things go the right way, if McVay is able to get his offense back on track, the Rams are going to be studs again. The 49ers are still super solid. Shanahan's a great coach. Pete Carroll's a great coach.
Yeah. I mean, the team with the most to prove is the Cardinals, and
absolutely.
So, we'll see if they can show up.
And I think if they were in a different division, they would have a much, much better chance of doing better. Like if they were in the NFC East,
yeah,
I think the Cardinals would be second place. Could be second place.
Did you know that, and I have to remember if this is accurate or not, because this is just going back in, the history books. I believe there was a period of time where the Arizona Cardinals were in the NFC East.
There's a good chance for that.
In Arizona, still being
Arizona Cardinals. NFC.
It was like I think they were called the Phoenix Cardinals or something too.
Yeah.
There was something else going on there.
It would have had to have been before the Texans joined.
Right. No, this was definitely pre Texans, back when it was the East, Central, West was the three divisions. I think I could, but I could be misremembering. Regardless, all right. So we have two more divisions to talk about. You mentioned the NFC East. Hit us with it.
Let's talk about them. So the Cowboys had a what the fuck happened year last year, where you thought they were going to be good, and then just nothing worked together. And now they have some good pieces in place. Some improvements on defense. They drafted a great wide receiver in the draft, and I don't see any way that they don't win the division, with the Eagles potentially doing well if they can stay healthy, which is a big issue for them. And then the other two teams are in a basement behind a locked door. We're not going to talk about them. No, I'm kidding. That's mean. The other two teams in the division, actually 3 of the teams in this division, fun fact, have new head coaches because they sucked so bad last year.
Yeah, the Philadelphia sneaked into the playoffs, and then everyone was like, all right, we give up.
Yep.
We're starting over. I'm with you on a lot of that, and I think that with the Giants, this is a foreign concept to me. I'm actually excited about a Giants season this year.
Can you say that again? I didn't hear you. I thought you said you were excited for a Giants season.
I believe you've heard correctly. I actually because it's not that I expect them to do anything win-loss wise, but I'm very it's more fascinating. It's more of a fascinating year for me for the Giants perspective, because they have this young quarterback that they're going to try to develop. You have this head coach that has made headlines for doing these very strange coaching practices, that everyone's like, what the hell is he doing? But I don't know. They seem to like him, so I don't know. Maybe it's working out for them. I'm fascinated to see what the development of this offense is, because I do think that this offense could do well. It's just the defense and like maybe their offensive line that is not good and very scary, and I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. But I want to see what the situation is going to be on the offensive side. But I'm with you. I think the Cowboys are going to be the best team in this division. They seem like the most complete. I think the Eagles are being a little overhyped in the sense that I look at their defense and I see, one or two, again, a few players that I would say are outstanding, and I worry about their depth in other places. And especially on the offense, I worry about their depth there as well. And if someone
wide receivers, especially.
Yeah, like if someone goes down, I don't trust it. So like I think there's a lot of people who are like, all right, the Eagles, they're just going to be in the mix, and they might. I'm hesitant on that front, but so I think the Cowboys are in good shape, and Washington's just Washington.
They're Washington. They're going to rebuild. They'll get a nice early pick next year again, though.
Yeah, Washington's defense is good. Everything else is not good. And nothing. The franchise as a whole is not good. So, man, the last time we had a regular season podcast, things were much different in Washington.
Yeah, they were.
All right. Let's wrap it all up here.
AFC North. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So AFC North is it's a little bit more of a fascinating division than I think we would probably give it credit for, just because the Ravens are the clear favorite in the sense that Lamar Jackson and the offense seem to be in good shape. I mean, I think the wide receiver situation is still kind of rough, but everywhere else on their offense seems to be interesting. J.K. Dobbins, is going to probably have a role closer to the end of the year, but he will, I think, have a significant role regardless. I don't think that we should sleep on the fact that there's a chance the Steelers could overtake them, and it will come down to the Big Ben playing well after injury, which is hard to do after that injury. But you have guys like James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster who really disappointed last year, but it could have been that they were held back by this terrible backup quarterback situation. That maybe they can really show their stuff in this year, because we know that this defense is going to be good. If the offense can match it, they're going to be a hard out in this division. And then I think the Bengals and Browns each have something very intriguing about them. I still love this Bengals offensive roster, and I like their offensive line.
Holy shit.
Offensive line a lot more this year than last year, because they have Jack Conklin from the Titans, and they drafted Jedrick Wills high and early. And it's gonna take Baker Mayfield being the star that he used to be. I hope that he is, and the defense has a lot of questions. So I mean, it's gonna be hard to see this team making like a push for a division, but hey, they could be a frisky wild card. And the Bengals too. I mean, Joe Burrow has a pretty decent offensive roster around him, and the defense is going to be the big question. They were one of the worst defenses last year, but I feel like anything can happen with Joe Burrow leading the way. It's an intriguing division from top to bottom, but I do think it's going to be a battle of two teams at the top.
Yeah, this actually would have been the other division. Like if you said all four teams in a division make it, which division is it? This would be my number 2 choice. Just because it's the only division where the bottom team could surprise people the most.
Yeah,
that's how definitely. I feel. Maybe NFC North, but no.
Who knows?
So, Ravens and Steelers are going to be great. Obviously, the Ravens have the offense, the Steelers have the defense, and then any quarterback play for the Steelers that's better than last year is going to be an improvement. So definitely. Even if Big Ben isn't who he was, if Big Ben is 60 to 70% of the quarterback that he was 2 years ago, Steelers are going to be in great shape.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't forget that the Steelers defense almost got them to the playoffs last year.
That's I think that's the big reason why no one should sleep on this team. For sure.
Absolutely not.
All right. Let's get to the big shit. The playoff and Super Bowl picks. I don't even know how to approach this. Let's start with the NFC. Give me your seeds.
Okay. So... We are the most mature.
Off to a great start.
Great start.
2020. Let's do it. Give me your seeds.
Okay, I'll give you my seeds. So, I'm just gonna run them down. My division winners: 1, New Orleans; 2, Dallas; 3, Seattle; 4, Minnesota.
Okay.
My wild cards: 5, San Francisco; 6, LA Rams; 7, Green Bay.
Okay. All right. You and I have the same divisions, but I have it's Saints 1, Seahawks 2, Cowboys 3, Vikings 4.
Okay.
I also have the Niners as my 5th wild card. But the 6 and 7 goes to the NFC South. I think the 6th seed is going to be the Falcons, and I think the 7th seed will be the Buccaneers.
You have more faith in the Falcons than I do. Which I would love to see it because I love Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is such a good player, and I want to see him succeed. But
no, I think that the skepticism of the team is completely valid. I feel like at some point that the Falcons will break the cycle of starting the season off with a bad defense and then finally getting good. I feel like the cycle has to break eventually, that they start a season with a good defense and
I would
stay consistent.
totally be cool with that happening.
Yeah. All right. I'll start with the AFC.
Okay.
I got the Chiefs number 1. I got the Titans number 2, baby.
Okay.
The 3 seed is the Ravens and the 4 seed is the Bills. And I think for the wild cards, we got the 5th seed Colts, the 6th seed Steelers, and the 7th seed Cleveland Browns, baby.
Oh shit.
I'm back on the.
Oh shit!
I'm like very hesitantly back on the train, but I'm back on the train, baby.
All right, a lot of similarities. My order was same division winners, but I went Baltimore, Kansas City, Buffalo, Tennessee.
Ooh, so all right, so your Baltimore is your number 1 right now.
Yes.
All right.
And then 5th and 6th seed were the same. I did Indy for 5, Pittsburgh for 6.
All right, hit me with your 7. What is it?
I struggled to put this team here.
Oh,
like, it hurt to type in New England, but
okay.
I think I'm that much of a Cam fan more than I am a New England fan.
Sure. No, I get it.
Adding him to this team and anything happening with the wide receiver core that's not shit with the defense that they have, I think they can do it.
I think I'm underselling them because I'm very skeptical about their weapon situation and like in terms of the offense, and then I feel like the defense doesn't have the depth that we want to think that it does, especially with how many players were lost.
That is true.
But I do think that this is the first year where I'm completely off the Patriots bandwagon. Of like picking them all the time, so
thank God the curse was broken in the playoffs last year. So now we can like actually have a discussion during Patriots games.
Yeah, this is a foreign concept to me to not
pick the Patriots every fucking week.
Yeah, so this is.
Did you pick against them at all last year?
I don't think so.
Not even with Baltimore, Kansas City.
I want to say no. But I could be wrong. We could go back and review the tape, but I'm pretty sure I was consistently saying I think the Patriots. I have no fucking reason for this, but picking the Patriots because they're just consistently good.
At least it wasn't last year. It wasn't the world is ending like it was 2 years ago. Your attitude towards the Patriots.
Yes, it has steadily just become just like like a kind of like this is where we are. Whatever it is, what it is. But no. All right. Now the Super Bowl picks. You want do you want to go first? Up to
I
you.
will go first.
All right.
So I'm planting my flag so fucking hard today, but it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Battle of the Birds.
Whoa.
Seahawks and Baltimore.
Okay.
Seahawks and Ravens.
Okay. I first I was like, Birds. Okay, Ravens, but who's on the NFC side? But I forgot about the Seahawks.
Yeah.
So you're saying you think that the Seahawks as a 3 seed make the Super Bowl?
Seahawks as a 3 seed make the Super Bowl.
That's interesting. Okay.
Because I think because at some point the Saints are gonna line up with the Vikings and lose.
The Vikings will just they're always gonna just end the Saints' hopes no matter what. Yeah. Okay. Hey, that's considering all things. And then it's
the Cowboys choking in the playoffs. So
yeah, there you go. That makes sense. Yeah, I think this is a similar pick to last year. But I feel like it has to happen eventually for Drew Brees, and I know that he's been painted in a bad light, rightfully so, because of the offseason that he had, with the comments that he made. He seems that he has redeemed himself a little bit on the subject, but I still love him as a player, and I want him to be successful. I think the Chiefs make it in the AFC. It's hard for me to see this Chiefs team slowing down, but I think the Saints make it to the Super Bowl, like long last, and then take down the Patrick Mahomes led Chiefs in a brilliant offensive showdown. And I think just because I think the Saints, the ultimate reason for it will be that the Saints defense is better than the Chiefs defense. So.
I can agree with that, and I'll have I didn't never said my winner. I'll have Baltimore winning.
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah.
So Lamar Jackson gets his first title.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. That's the Super Bowl picks. Real quick, I think we have just a tiny bit of time just to do playoff locks and eliminated locks from last year. So basically, the 4 teams we think that will definitely make the playoffs, and the 4 teams that we think will be definitely eliminated. Let's start with the playoff locks for you.
Okay. I need to find a list of last year's.
well, just for your sake, like you look at the teams that made your playoffs.
So I think the Ravens, Chiefs, Bills, and Saints are all locks.
Bills are a lock. I like that confidence. I will swap out the Bills and I'll put in the Seahawks. But outside of
I'm confident on the Seahawks too. They were my Super Bowl pick. Should have said them, but it's fine.
No, it's okay. I like the confidence in Buffalo though. I appreciate it. All right, who do you think is a guarantee to not make the playoffs?
Eagles.
Ooh,
Texans.
I feel like it's surprising. Whoa, Texans. Okay, I like this.
Looking at this list.
I like it.
Wait, okay, so is it total or just from this year? For the teams that were in the playoffs last year?
No. So this is
I
total.
misunderstood.
Yes, this is total. This is total. Sorry.
Okay, I thought I was going to have to make some...
You were making some bold picks, man.
Jeez.
I was like, wow, Eagles, Texans? Wow.
Okay. All right, so now that I understand...
Yes.
Both New York's, Washington, and Jacksonville.
Okay. and maybe this is the Giants fan in me. I'll swap out the Giants, and I'll put the Panthers in there.
Okay, yeah, fair.
just considering how deep the division is.
No, yeah,
but
I'm not.
I'm down, but I'm down for that.
Cool.
All right, so that's our locks for the season. All right. Finally, before we go, it's time for our week 1 pick. So if you're new here, here's how we do it. We basically, it's a point system that we do. If you get a pick right, you get a point. If you get a pick wrong, you lose a point. But we do have 2 modifiers that we throw in. There's the guarantee, which is basically the lock. And if you get it wrong, you lose double the points, so 2 points. And there's also the Team Chaos, which is what our production company is named after. The Team Chaos is the upset pick. And if you get it right, you earn double the points. There's like, if you get the Team Chaos wrong, it's no effect, and if you get the guarantee right, there's no effect. So it's a little,
it's +1 -1, as it usually is.
Yes. So last year, just to kind of set the stage here. Last year, the ending was that I had 52 points and you had 40 points. I finished with a record of 155 to 100. You finished with a record of 150 to 105. So that's to set the stage.
What were the points last year?
It was negative. So the -3 was the ending modifier for me, and -5 was the ending modifier for you.
Okay, all right. That just seemed like a bigger difference in points than I thought.
Yeah, I think it was the modifier that kind of made it seem so crazy, but that's but no, it sounds a lot worse than it actually was. It was a lot more of a closer competition down the stretch.
Yeah,
and I expect the same this year in the competition. So, with that being said, let's kick things off. Houston at Kansas City. Kansas City, the reigning Super Bowl champion, gonna still have fans in their stadium, but a smaller percentage. They're looking to kind of carry that momentum from the Super Bowl win into the season. The Texans, they're living life without DeAndre Hopkins for the first time. Will Deshaun Watson be able to get that lead that they had against the Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional round again and be able to sustain it? Or will Kansas City roll? What do you think?
I think Kansas City is going to have a very fun game. And it's going to be high scoring, but they'll still be the ones to win this game in the end. So Kansas City.
I'm with you. Kansas City. All right, give me this next game.
Next up, Seattle Seahawks and Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. Seattle coming off of their playoff run, and their really almost division winning season last year. They've got their health back with Chris Carson. They've still got Russ. They added Jamal Adams, and then we have the Falcons, who, despite having a good offense, they added Todd Gurley and still have a lot of question marks. Who do you have in this game?
Well, I came into this week wanting to take shots, and I was like, I was saying how high I am on the Falcons this year, and I am also high on the Seahawks. I think they have the potential to be the number 1 overall seed, but the Seahawks also notoriously start very slow. Falcons, Team Chaos.
Well, we're having one of these fuckers in week fucking 1 where I'm locking the Seahawks and planting my flag.
I love it. All right, so a guarantee Team Chaos battle. That's I'm looking forward to that now.
It's either like, because of this, it's either it's like either whichever team wins fucks over the other.
Yes,
that's what it is.
That's kind of how it rolls. All right, love it. Let's move on to the Bills hosting the Jets. The Bills, of course, going into the year consistently, keeping the same roster from last year, and probably will be better than last year versus the Jets, who have a lot of question marks across the board. Will Sam Darnold be able to make a leap? What do you think in this one?
Bills very handily.
Yeah, I'm with you. Bills, I have locked in here. All right.
Next up is the divisional matchup between the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions in Detroit. The Bears, coming off a disappointing season, gonna have had some quarterback issues in the offseason, and now the Lions trying to bounce back from their disappointing season, but actually have their quarterback who is competent. What's your thoughts on the matchup?
So I said Bills locked it in by accident. I did, but that's not actually a lock for me.
Your lock.
That's not actually my lock.
Yeah.
But I look at the Lions, and I do think that they're going to be good this year. And I'm sorry to do this to you week 1 against your Bears. but I'm guaranteeing the Lions.
You hurt me
in this battle, just because I think that this team has a better shot at having some stability early on than the Bears. I think the Bears could get there if they're good enough, but I think the Lions will be a little bit more together for this first matchup.
See, I'm not even against you picking the Lions. It's the fact that you're guaranteeing them that drives the dagger through my heart.
I'm sorry.
I'm being facetious.
It's the business. It's the business.
I know. I am picking the Bears, but I don't feel good about it.
Okay, all right.
Because I feel like I need to have... This is my last chance to, it almost feels like my last chance to feel okay about picking the Bears to win a game.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Until we face the Jaguars in week 15. Week 16.
Oh God, that is a long time. Long time to wait for some stability. I'm sorry. All right. Next up, the Cleveland Browns go up against the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, of course, coming off of another brutal playoff loss in the Lamar Jackson era. Looking to rebound to start out the season and really kick some butt. The Cleveland Browns are a little frisky. They got their offense, which, if Baker Mayfield plays well, could make an impact. And the Browns did beat the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore last year. But will it be the same case this time around?
I don't believe so. The Ravens are still just so stacked. It's going to be some new coach, growing pains potentially with the Browns, and I think Ravens just as a safe pick here.
Yeah, I'm with you. Ravens, just a good, a solid team that I think Cleveland, there's still some they're still trying to learn under this new coach, like you said, and I think Ravens are the team that has been together and will have their stuff together for week 1. Next up.
All right, next up we have the Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Vikings. Both teams made the playoffs last year, with the Packers winning the division and having Aaron Rodgers at the helm, where the Vikings are a little more consistent down the depth chart, but could probably be the closest matchup of the week, I think. What do you think?
Oh, I think it will be. These teams always play it close. But I look at this team, these teams right now, and I think they're going in different directions, even if either team even knows it yet. It's hard for the Packers to win in Minnesota anyway, and it's just to add a little bit of an extra, problem to it, the fact that they didn't really improve in any position. I think
they could have.
I think that it's just a dagger for the Vikings to go on and win this. This could have been my guarantee, but Packers scare me to guarantee against them a little bit. So.
Same. I'm also going with the Vikings here, just to continue to just shit on the Packers again while I can.
well, the Packers are in a vulnerable state where we could do this, and then they will brawl off 8 wins in a row, and then we will be in a state of like, oh shit, they actually are good.
Yeah.
The Indianapolis Colts will be going to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. The Colts, of course, the team that is the off-season darling a little bit. People are like, oh, no one's talking about the Colts to win the AFC South. I'm like, yeah, a lot of people are actually.
Yeah,
I've seen this take many times across the board. But they got an easy one out of the gate, the Jacksonville Jaguars. But can the Jaguars sneak a surprise in for the week 1?
I don't think so. I think the Colts are just a really good team and are going to win the game.
Yeah. I like it. I'm with you.
With the Jaguars' current defensive situation and Minshew and Chark really being the only bright spots of this team right now, I'm sorry, Jaguars. I miss 2017. You.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Colts. I think the Colts get it. This Jaguars team doesn't look as bad as like the Dolphins roster did last year, but it is just with how much kind of craziness that's been happening and them dealing a bunch of players. It's hard for me to think that the Jaguars players are gonna have a lot of faith in the team. I know they're gonna want to win regardless, but it's a hard situation for the Jacksonville overall.
Next up, the Las Vegas Raiders do not open their season in Las Vegas. Instead, they do it in Carolina, facing the Panthers. The Raiders coming off of a almost playoff berth, where if like 60 things went their way, week 17 week 17 they might have been able to have snuck in. Mm-hmm. But alas, facing the Panthers, who have a new head coach, have a new quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, and do not have their centerpiece of Luke Kuechly on defense. How do you think this matchup is going to go?
So I looked at this. At first I was like, all right, yeah, Raiders are going to just come in here, take care of the Panthers, and go home. But I was thinking about this a little bit more. I feel like I know that human beings are not really going to take up the stands this year. In the NFL, but I do think home field advantage is still going to be a big impact, because I feel like travel is just going to be a bitch this year with how nuts our society is, and I think the Panthers they have some surprises in them this year. I don't think that they're going to be above 500 necessarily, but I think that this is a game that they win. I like it. I'm going to pick the Panthers in this one.
I also chose them.
Yeah.
And I was now I'm not so sure if they will count as my Team Chaos.
No, they do.
Okay, all right.
They do. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Well, because at the end of the day, the Raiders are people think they're going to be a playoff team. No one thinks the Panthers are going to be a playoff team. So
I know, and I love it's weird because I love the Panthers offense right now.
Yeah.
McCaffrey's great. DJ Moore is great. Robbie Anderson coming there is a good thing. And then Teddy Bridgewater, how well did he do with the Saints last year? Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so new head coach stuff gonna have to be figured out, but I really like the Panthers here, and I'm gonna choose them as my Team Chaos.
I like it.
The difference between me getting my Team Chaos right this week and you getting your Team Chaos right this week is like 5 points.
Yeah. It's some warfare going on right here, but we're already done with the modifiers out of the gate. We still have 8 games to talk about. Next up, the Miami Dolphins travel to New England to take on the Patriots. All right, so this is Cam Newton's first start. This is the first game in the post-Brady era in New England. It's going to be kind of surreal, I'm sure. And Miami is a team that has been a thorn in the dynasty side a little bit in the AFC East, because they consistently knock this team off at random weird circumstances. So, do the New England Patriots have to be scared of the Dolphins in this week?
I feel like if it was the Miami in New England game, towards the end of the season they would, but I feel like week 1, the Patriots are gonna still be able to take this one.
I'm with you.
It's always the late season game that fucks them over.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Patriots out of the gate will take care of business. I think we'll maybe we'll be a little bit blowouty, and I think will lead to an exhausting amount of takes about maybe the Patriots are gonna win the AFC, or there's some bullshit's gonna happen with it. So that's my prediction. An extra little prediction in there. All right, next up.
Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles going to the Washington football team, and on ESPN, it doesn't even have football team in here. It just says Washington, which is what we've been calling it for so long. The Washington is in a complete rebuild. Hopefully, at some point, a complete overhaul of their just system in general, because they suck ass. Eagles coming off of a playoff berth, and hopefully can make it through a season without injuries.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this is another one of those. I mean, it was weird last year because these two teams have been playing against each other probably for like in the season open for at least like the last 3 seasons. It feels like,
Mm-hmm.
and the first one wasn't necessarily close. This one was this last year was very close. And Washington was not that great of a team last year. But I do have faith in the Eagles that they can take down a Washington team that is just reeling from a whole lot of bullshit that has happened in the offseason. So I am with it. I'm with the Eagles on this one.
Great. I am as well.
Okay, good. Sounds good.
Los Angeles. Oh, you're next. My bad.
I'm next. Los Angeles Chargers at Cincinnati Bengals. This is the Joe Burrow debut game. It could have been Joe Burrow versus Justin Herbert, but the football gods don't want to let it be that way. It's Tyrod Taylor instead. Chargers were a playoff team in 2018. Took a big step back this year, are without Derwin James, but the defense is decent. And you do still have the Bengals here as could be a surprisingly offensive heavy team. And their questions are more on the defensive side. What do you think is going to happen in this game?
I think that the Chargers are still going to manage to take this one out. The Bengals defense is a little bit improved, but I don't think it's that great yet. And
Sure.
Joe Burrow, it's Joe Burrow's first NFL game. If anyone's going to do well, it's him, but I still don't have a ton of faith in them taking down the Chargers here.
Yeah, that to me that it makes a lot of sense. But I don't know. Told you it would be frisky this year or this week at least. Bengals. I'm going with them. Just because I don't know. I think that this is it's another one of those situations where it's a West Coast road team going out and traveling all the way to Ohio. And I just feel like Joe Burrow. I'm really high on him. And I just feel like he's gonna end up surprising a lot of people in the beginning here. I have not enough faith in the Chargers offense to make me think that they're gonna get it right first try.
That's fair.
So I'm gonna go Bengals.
Next up, the marquee matchup of the season potentially, but part one. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the New Orleans Saints. Tom Brady versus Drew Brees. Has there ever been a more hyped up week 1 matchup than this one? I think not.
He says exhausted.
What do you think's gonna happen?
I'm gonna stick to what I've been saying, which is I do like the Buccaneers. I think they're going to be a good team this year, and the Buccaneers notoriously have usually destroy the Saints in week 1. But I think the Saints will be in a little bit of a different spot this year. I do have faith that they're going to pull it out. So I'm going with New Orleans.
I will go with New Orleans as well. Nolans. They're too stacked of a team, top to bottom.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, next up, Arizona Cardinals. Will be going to the NFC champion, San Francisco 49ers. And this is a fun NFC West matchup right out the gate. We get to see what the Cardinals offense is made of against a really good 49ers defense, and we get to see Jimmy Garoppolo, what his first game is going to be like after being kind of embarrassed in the Super Bowl, and how the Cardinals defense will look with some young players showing up. Very intriguing matchup to me. What do you think is going to happen?
This was so tempting. It was so tempting, but I couldn't do it. The 49ers defense is just too good, and I think that Kyle Shanahan as a coach is phenomenal. These two have had very close matchups, and I think their second meeting I may consider the Cardinals, but I have to go with the 49ers here.
It was very tempting for me too. I really again wanted to be all right, let's just call it some issues and let's go with the Cardinals, but I think right now where things stand with the 49ers, their wide receiver situation's looking better than it did 2 weeks ago. Deebo Samuel is expected to play this week, I think.
Yeah.
So I gotta go Niners. I think they'll be in good shape.
Cool. Next up, our Sunday night football matchup. We have the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Rams. Cowboys got a new head coach this offseason. Rams had a disappointing season last year after making the Super Bowl. How do you think this matchup is going to go?
I'm going Cowboys. It's just to me, it's a team that is very complete, looking good on paper, and I think they will show themselves. What was really annoying to me about the Giants facing the Cowboys every week one was the fact that the Cowboys would always kick the Giants' ass. I'm glad that this year the Rams will get to experience that blow instead of the Giants, but the Giants will have their own issues. We'll talk about that in a second. But Cowboys.
I'm actually going to go with the Rams.
Ooh, okay. Tell me.
I don't know why. Well, part of it is because I do have them as a playoff team, and I think they are going to bounce back from their down year last year.
Okay.
I don't know how amazing they're going to do overall, but the Cowboys just as well as I think they're going to do this year, something about them just, I think that they could just have a moment, which they tend to do, which all of the moments that they had last year got them out of the playoffs when they actually, I think, could have competed over the Eagles, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the Rams just because I don't know. That's just how I am feeling right now.
Yeah, it's their debut in SoFi Stadium. You know. SoFi?
Also true.
SoFi. So
I think SoFi.
SoFi.
Like lo-fi.
I see what you mean.
Beats you can chill and play football too.
I get it. No, I totally get it, and I think this is gonna be a very close game. But I just Cowboys look good. Next up, the Steelers will be going to New York to take on the New York Football Giants. Look, I was praising this Giants offense, but they're gonna start out this season with a big old test against the Steelers defense. What do you think is gonna happen?
I love the Steelers here, and I think they have a really good shot of being one of the dominant teams in the league this season, and I'm sorry, Giants. Everyone will be watching you lose because it's Monday night.
Yeah, this is not the way I would have wanted as a Giants fan to open things up, but I'm glad it's different. I'm glad it's not the fucking Cowboys again, but I also, goddamn, we had to go up against the best defense to show how, and like, it will show how this Giants offense storyline is going to just fall through the cracks because of how good the Steelers defense is.
Yep.
I'm with you on it though. I'm gonna go Steelers here.
And lastly, at the early hour of 10 p.m. Eastern Time, we have the Tennessee Titans and the Denver Broncos. Are you going to stay up for this game?
Oh, dude, I'm
your
up at like
sleep
5
schedule
a.m.
isn't your sleep schedule isn't mandated by 6 a.m. waking up like mine is. I forgot.
Yeah, my life in unemployment right now is just fucking my days end at 6 a.m. and they begin at noon. So
that's
here we are.
Weird, and you should be getting more sleep than 6 hours.
No, I do get more sleep
Okay.
than that. I'm just
Okay.
it's for effect, dramatic effect.
So Tennessee Titans made the playoffs last year, almost made the Super Bowl last year. Derrick Henry, great rusher, where the Denver Broncos are still kind of trying to rebuild and find their footing. Can Drew Lock save the day?
So this gave me some pause because when Von Miller went down, I was thinking like, okay, the Broncos might be able to pull an upset here. When Von Miller went down, I was like, all right, it's gonna be really hard for me to pick this Broncos team, but I'm just living life on the edge, man. Broncos, let's do it. I'm going Broncos just because I think early on we're gonna see just the Titans just, you know, they're another team that kind of struggles out of the gate. I know it's a different era with Ryan Tannehill, but the Titans will bounce back. They're my number 2 seed after all, but I think that the Broncos will take care of business here.
Cool. I'm gonna go with the Titans just because I like Derrick Henry as a player too much.
I totally understand that. totally understand. And with that, that's is that 6 disagreements or 5 disagreements? 5 disagreements.
Seahawks, Bears,
Chargers, Rams.
Titans.
All right. 5 disagreements with
including a super fucko. Which is what I'm gonna call when we guarantee and Team Chaos.
Yes.
The same teams.
It's the super fucko of the week. Falcons.
The super fucko of the week.
Falcons,
which I lied earlier. If the Falcons win, if the Seahawks win, it's normal. If the Falcons win, I'm fucked.
Yeah, it's a rough spot, but
yep.
I mean, but there's still room for you to kind of build a lead here, though, because the Bears could win, the Panthers could win, even though that won't necessarily affect me as much. You'll get an extra point there,
right?
And then
it's just
Seahawks
like in the one game, it's just whew.
It's
happened to me multiple times last season. So
you in the super fucko, you want to be on the Team Chaos side of things.
The Team Chaos side, because it's so much worse for the guarantee.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is how the circumstances were, but my
no,
goodness. I know. I wish they were listed on the ESPN website, because we use the Pigskin Pick'em for this, but I wish they were listed a little bit lower, because I feel like that was a good moment to be like, oh shit, it's about to go down.
Yeah.
With that beginning one. All right. So this is crazy though. 5 disagreements out of the gate with that super fucko matchup. Football's back. And
football is back.
We can't wait to share the season with you. I hope that you you will come along with us for the ride. We don't worry, we won't shit on you if you think Rob Gronkowski is going to have a great year. Don't worry about it.
That was me just expressing my opinion vulgarly.
No, it's totally good. I really hope you come along with us. We will keep you guys posted on the VVBFL. We will let you guys know that as soon as we get going on week 1. We have some fun things planned for that, and we want to thank everyone again for getting us prepared for that league. It's going to be a ton of fun, but with all the picks locked in, with our predictions locked in, a few hours from the time this podcast gets uploaded, it's kickoff.
It's football time.
Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Good night and good ball. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.